Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today is our fifth lecture of our course Calculus 2. In today's lecture, we will study implicit differentiation. It is very easy as it is related to our previous lecture. But in this, there is a little bit difference, which is x square plus y square plus z square, that we have our simple expression. In our last lecture, we take it as equal to the function of xy. We can take its partial derivative. But in today's lecture, as we are finding the implicit differentiation, to solve it, we have some value on our right hand side. So it is sine y of z. Like we are having an expression on our left hand side and right hand side. We have to find it partial of z by partial of x and partial of z by partial of y. We have to make partial of z by partial of x from our expression, and then we will take it on one side and find the answer to what partial of z by partial of x is equal to. So partial by partial of x, our expression of the left hand side, x square plus y square plus z square. It is equal to partial by partial of x, as we need the partial by partial of x in denominator. So we are writing it, and our expression of the right hand side, sine y of z. Now we will take the derivative 2x plus y is not involving, so y will be 0 as a constant. We have to take the value of the z, the derivative of the z, because we have to take the partial of z by partial of x. So it means we have to take the derivative of the z values. So it will be 2z dot partial of z by partial of x. The power and the z and the derivative of the z with respect to x. So you can see that this is the value we have to find. So it will be equal to, the derivative of sine will be cos y of z, and the partial by partial of x to power, which is yz. Now we have 2x plus 2z dot partial of z by partial of x. You don't have to write it equal to 0. You will never do it because we have to find the partial of z by partial of x. Cos yz dot, we are taking the y as a constant. So y will be on the outside from the partial. It will be partial of z by partial of x. Now you can see that this is the value on the right hand side as we have on the left hand side. So 2x is equal to minus 2z partial of z by partial of x plus cos y of z y partial of z by partial of x. We are taking our this expression on the other side, so it will be minus. So 2x is equal to minus 2z plus cos yz and y. We are taking the partial of z by partial of x as a, so 2x, here this is in the multiplication, so on the other side it will be in the division. Minus 2z plus, we can write the y here, y cos yz is equal to partial of z by partial of x. So this is our final answer, which we have to find out. Partial of z by partial of x. Now we will find out partial of z by partial of y. We will write our expression as partial by partial of y. Our expression, that is x square plus y square plus z square, equal to partial by partial of y, our right hand side value, that is sine yz. So taking the derivative according to y, we have to take the x as a constant. And we have to take the partial of z by partial of y, it means we will derivate the z values. So it will be partial of x square by partial of y, it will be 0, plus the derivative of y will be 2y plus 2z. We have to find the partial of z by partial of y. The power z into partial of z by partial of y is equal to, derivative of sine will be cos yz and partial by partial of y of the angle yz. It is 2y plus 2z. You will never write it equal to 0. Write it as it is, partial of z by partial of y, as we are finding it out. So cos yz into partial of yz by partial of y. We have to write it as 2y plus 2z partial of z by partial of y is equal to cos yz. As we are taking the partial of z by partial of y, so partial of z by partial of y will be as it is, and we will take the y as a constant on the outside. So y into partial of z by partial of y. So 2y is equal to cos y z y as it is, partial of z by partial of y as it is, and we will take this value on the other side, minus 2z partial of z by partial of y. Why we are taking this value every time on the other side? Because we have to take it as the common. As we have to find it out, we will take it alone on our left or right hand side. So 2y, first we have to take it, 2y is equal to, we have to take the partial of z by partial of y as common. So it will be y cos yz minus 2z. So 2y, so it will be 2y divided by this expression, y cos yz minus 2z, and partial of z by partial of y will be on the other side, and this will be our final answer. This is how we solve the implicit differentiation. So now if you have any kind of question, you may ask in the comment section.